Hi, I know there is another press conference coming up here that we think is very important, so we'll try to be quick. You know, the reality is right now our state is in a really good spot. I think Governor Dayton articulated that really well in his inauguration and last night. Our economy is growing. We have just over 3% unemployment. We have $1 billion state budget surplus based on the work that we did over the last 2 years. And what it means is that we have a great opportunity right now to do really, really good things for Minnesota and to build for our long-term future. What I see in the Republican proposals is a waste of that opportunity. It's giveaways to rich Minnesotans and to corporations, and it's short-term Band-Aids for things that even they on the campaign trail said we need long-term solutions for. And I'm going to touch on a few, and Representative Marquardt is going to touch on a few others. If we look at transportation as an example, last night, Kurt Dowd at the chamber dinner admitted that they're not even going to try they're already waving the white flag on a long-term transportation solution, that all they think they can accomplish is a short-term Band-Aid, and their proposal today, $750 million over 4 years, is not even a Band-Aid. We did $750 million in the last 2 years, and they went around the state for the last 6 months saying that that's inadequate, and I will agree with you that that was inadequate. That was the unfinished business of the last 2 years. But for them to run around the state, he couldn't have talked to his rural members that just got elected that campaigned on actually fixing our transportation problem, because what they're proposing isn't even half a Band-Aid. They're building a bridge to nowhere on transportation. On long-term care, we heard all about that for the last 6 months. We passed in the last 2 years a 6% increase for long-term care workers because we know, as the Republicans know, as everybody knows, that there is there's a challenge out there for attracting really good workers to our and keeping really good workers in our long-term care facilities. Their response is not to raise anybody's pay, but to give a loan forgiveness that's not going to move the dial one iota. It's a great to do, and I don't oppose that proposal, but it's not going to fix the problem that they said was such a huge problem that they vowed to their constituents during the election that they were going to fix. We look at the tax cuts. Instead of focusing on middle-class families, what we're seeing is only tax cuts for the business community. And I suppose when you have $3 million spent by the business community on your behalf, that's what you get. But that's not going to help Minnesota families. And there are absolutely no jobs in this bill. We know that, 51,000 jobs, 51,000 jobs in the last year have been created in Minnesota under the policies we adopted, 191,000 over the last 4 years under Governor Dayton. And in this bill, you're not going to see a single job. You give a tax break to a business, unless they actually need to hire somebody, they're not going to hire anybody. What gets businesses to hire a new person is increasing demand. It's getting money in the pockets of Minnesotans, and there's nothing in this bill that actually does that. I am going to turn this over to Representative Marquardt to talk about a few of the other things, and then we're happy to take questions. But the bottom line is this proposal right now, if this is what the GOP sees as their vision for the state of Minnesota for taking advantage of this tremendous opportunity that they've been given, it is a waste of an opportunity, and it's really unfortunate for Minnesotans.
Good morning. I hear the brakes screeching on the excellent momentum that we saw the last 2 years for our state, for rural Minnesota, and for hardworking middle-class Minnesotans. And you look at what was achieved the last session with property tax relief and building the world's best workforce and freezing tuition and nursing home additional dollars. It was huge, and I really see a halt to that progress with what was laid out here with the Republican agenda. And one major area, a major focus that every single business in this state, every employer in this state will agree, is that we have to build the world's best workforce. You hear that over and over, and yet, even with that huge need, what we hear from the Republicans is their first effort to hit the world's best workforce is to talk about laying off teachers. We know things that actually work, efforts and strategies that have proven track records to get to the world's best workforce is early childhood education, matching our students with the best career or college opportunities they can have to build that skilled workforce. So I'm very disappointed with the effort because You've heard all session talking about jobs, and you talk to people, they need a highly skilled, highly educated workforce. And by starting the discussion with talking about laying off teachers is not the way to go when you need investment in those areas we know that really reduce the achievement gap and increase student performance.
You know, and I guess the last thing I would say is to contrast this and their ideas here about workforce development, which everybody acknowledges a huge need, with the vision that the Senate just laid out. And that's actually a vision that I think can excite Minnesotans about what we can do in this state and call Minnesotans to kind of a higher calling for them about what we need to do and what we can accomplish if we come together as a state. Well, I'll leave it with that. So any questions people have?
Representative Mark, can you connect the dots for me on the teacher layoff? What would layoff teachers?
Yeah, I think what they were talking about is a lot of things of evaluations, using this more for deciding, I guess, what would be the impact on teachers. And, you know, that's in law right now, the evaluation system. In fact, personally, I just went through it this year with my principal just before I ended my teaching this year. The formative and summative and using surveys and the whole works. So that is already in the works. We know, and data will show, that it's early childhood education, those things we focused on the last couple of years, that really is going to make the difference in closing that achievement gap to improve our gross domestic product and get to the best workforce ultimately in the world. And so I don't see going after hardworking teachers as the approach to do this. Evaluations are important. Making sure we have the best teachers in the classroom is important. That's being done right now. And to come out of the gate with your top agenda being that, I feel, is really losing the great momentum we established moving towards the world's best workforce.
What's the prospect for the Senate DFL? Some of the big ideas they rolled out, the free VOTEC, free pre-K. Those are big, expensive ideas. They have a chance?
Well, I think they're very much worth looking at. I don't think they know what the cost is, and that'll obviously be the question. But I think it's the start, especially, well, on both ends of that spectrum, but especially this idea about having post-secondary education be a public good, I think is an important conversation for us to start. And, you know, and maybe it's something we have to phase in over time, but I am really, really glad that they are starting that conversation in a real and meaningful way. All right. Thank you.